The shocking siege, attack on the Kaaba 40 years ago. 40 years ago, an event unfolded in the heart of Mecca that sent shockwaves across the Islamic world. It was a day of terror, chaos, and bloodshed. An armed group seized control of the Kaaba, turning the holiest site in Islam into a battleground. But who were these attackers? How did they manage to infiltrate the Grand Mosque? And what role, if any, did Pakistan and Pervez Musharraf play in this unprecedented crisis? The dawn of a nightmare. It was the time of the far prayer. Sheikh Mohammed al-Sabil, the Imam of the Grand Mosque, donned a light-colored robe as he prepared to lead a congregation of 150,000 worshippers. The air was cool, the atmosphere serene. As the prayer concluded, the Imam turned to make a supplication. Suddenly, an eerie disturbance broke the tranquility. A group of men carrying coffins made their way to the front. It seemed like a routine funeral procession, until, in a shocking twist, a man in tattered clothes and a thick beard pushed the Imam aside, seized a microphone, and roared, "The Mahdi has appeared! Allahu Akbar!" Terror unleashed. The so-called mourners swiftly revealed their true intent. Hidden within the coffins were weapons. In an instant, rifles were drawn, and the chant rang to the mosque, "The Mahdi has come!" Panic set in. The massive congregation stood paralyzed with fear. Then, the crack of gunfire shattered the silence. Security forces stationed inside the mosque tried to intervene, but caught off guard and unarmed. They were mercilessly gunned down. Blood stained the sacred floor as worshippers ran for their lives. Even the pigeons, which had long found sanctuary in the minarets, took flight in terror. This was no ordinary act of defiance. It was a declaration of war on the Saudi monarchy and the established order. The perpetrators, nearly 400 strong, included men, women, children, and even African-American converts to Islam. Their leader? Juhayman bin Muhammad bin Saif al-Otaybi, a former soldier turned extremist, who believed he was fulfilling a divine prophecy, a siege like no other. Juhayman was no amateur. Having served 18 years in the Saudi National Guard, he was well-versed in military tactics. He had become disillusioned with the modern Islamic world, believing that Islam needed to return to its purest form. His radical ideology led him to plot one of the most audacious attacks in history. His men quickly secured strategic positions. Some climbed the towering 292-foot-high minarets, mounted machine guns to dominate the battlefield. Others barricaded the mosque entrances using prayer rugs and furniture, preventing reinforcements from entering. Juhayman then made a chilling proclamation. His brother-in-law, Muhammad al-Qahtani, was a prophesied Mahdi, the savior destined to lead Muslims before the Day of Judgment. Saudi Arabia's response and the global standoff. The world watched in horror as news of the attack spread. The Saudi government immediately sealed the nation's borders, cut off all communication channels, and deployed thousands of security forces to the Grand Mosque. But there was a dire problem. Islam's holiest site could not be recklessly stormed without igniting global outrage. Saudi forces launched their first assault, but were met with fierce resistance. Juhayman's men, well entrenched and possessing superior vantage points, inflicted heavy casualties. Even a helicopter assault ended in disaster as snipers picked off soldiers before they could land. As the siege dragged on, desperation mounted. The Saudi leadership turned to an unlikely ally, the Bin Laden Group, a construction company with intimate knowledge of the Grand Mosque architecture. Using detailed blueprints, Saudi forces discovered hidden tunnels beneath the mosque where many insurgents had taken refuge. The final showdown. After days of relentless battle, Saudi forces devised a new strategy. With precision, they blasted through walls, gaining control of key positions. Snipers were neutralized and hostages were rescued. Juhayman and his remaining fighters, however, refused to surrender. In a decisive move, Saudi special forces deployed tear gas and launched their final assault. Room by room, floor by floor, they fought their way through the mosque. The once mighty insurgents were now trapped, outnumbered, and overpowered. One by one, they fell. Juhayman himself was captured, disarmed, and taken into custody. Justice served. With the siege over, Saudi Arabia swiftly moved to restore order. Juhayman and his surviving followers were put on trial. The verdict was inevitable: guilty. The punishment? Execution. In a public display of justice, the men who had desecrated Islam's holiest site were beheaded, bringing a grim end to one of the darkest chapters in modern Islamic history. A legacy of fear and lessons learned. The 1979 siege of the Grand Mosque remains one of the most harrowing events in Islamic history. It exposed vulnerabilities in security, radical ideologies festering in the shadows, and the lengths to which extremists would go to impose their beliefs. Today, the scars of that attack linger as a reminder of the chaos that can unfold when fanaticism takes root. The Grand Mosque stands as a symbol of resilience, a testament to the countless souls who perished, and a lesson that echoes through time. Vigilance and unity must always guard the sacred heart of Islam. This gripping retelling of the Grand Mosque Siege captures attention, the horror and heroism of that fateful event. If you found this story compelling, share it to keep history alive and lessons learned.